think a lot of people believe that because their daughter doesn't go to the public school that doesn't have books, or because their son doesn't live in the neighborhood where gun violence is happening, that their children are safe and that they're safe and that they're protected. I'm here to let all of us know that all it takes is one encounter for some of us who feel protected and safe in this bubble to realize that life is real.
We have a gun violence problem in this country.
Gun violence is one of the hardest things for me to talk about. And you'd think that because of how much experience I have with gun violence that it'd be easier to talk about. But I think about calling my mom and walking from high school crying because I was afraid that my life would be taken, just like some of my classmates, just like some of my teammates, just like my stepfather, friends, etc. And it's one of those things where the resources are there to prevent these issues from happening, but for some reason those resources are gatekept.
I lost my dad on Mother's Day in 2008 to gun violence in Atlanta. Okay. My dad was somebody. He was a father, he was a partner, he was a son, uncle, like he was a human. He was a human being. And oftentimes it really makes me so angry when it comes to black men and them losing their lives to gun violence in the hood. It's just like another black man was killed, it's a regular thing. But a lot of times people don't think about the impact on the families and what we have to deal with for the rest of our lives. For a long time, I was angry, I was confused, I just wanted to know why. But then I eventually made peace with it, and it really inspired me to show up for my communities and really highlight everyday gun violence in impoverished communities because it's not talked about enough. I know that my dad is looking down on me incredibly proud. Like, he always encouraged me to use my voice, and I know that with all the work that I'm doing, it's really continuing his legacy and keeping his name alive.
What happens when these men are murdered and women and brothers and sisters and friends are murdered is that space where we are loved fully is taken away. When we look at the people that love us, it's unfortunate that the ones who love us how we need to be loved are so often taken from us. I look at how much I have in common with my stepfather and your father, and that's what makes the breath that's in my lungs so special and so unique. I get the opportunity to say something on behalf of our lives. When it comes to legacy and when it comes to continuing to fight, I'm so grateful for what our fathers taught us, because that's what's put us in position to do this work today.
When you look at the issues surrounding gun violence, a lot of people just address the surface level issues, right? They just see a person picking up a gun and shooting someone else, and that's what they think all of it encapsulates. But there's so much more, especially in inner cities, right? In areas that are plagued by poverty, and poverty exacerbates every single issue that we see in these communities, and particularly gun violence, because these people are in a deserted community with no resources, no sustainable wages, poor education quality. And you put them in situations like that and expect them to thrive. And it's really not rocket science. It is so hypocritical to tell inner city communities that are plagued by gun violence to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and work hard when we don't even have the foundation for the boots that these people speak of, right? And so if you put resources and give people the tools that they need to not only survive but thrive, violence will decrease drastically. Living in a community like that, you have to protect yourself and fend for yourself.
I think this is the highest level of thinking that a human could have, is to use love. So when it comes to politicians enacting this, it requires a level of humility. It's about like those politicians being accountable for themselves, having a heart and a mind that is willing to listen to those who are most afflicted in this country.
Elected officials represent the people. When it's convenient, when it's popular, when it's inconvenient, at all times.
I feel sad even having to ask for this because I know how many politicians will not do it. But it's really easy to listen. Afflicted people in this country are who we turn the volume down on. Sometimes we have government agencies throwing resources at the wrong places because they didn't listen to what the people need. So when we talk about politicians using more love, it first starts with listening. But in order to listen, you have to have a heart that cares about yourself. Because if you know what it feels like to be ignored, you'll never want to ignore someone else.
Something that I'm really proud of that really reignited my passion for this movement on an entirely different level is a peace treaty that I was able to organize between the 9 Trey Gangster Bloods and Rolling and Moving Crips in Brooklyn. And at the top of the peace treaty, the first word is Ubuntu. And that means I am because you are. That is so incredibly important to our community to remember that I am my brother's keeper, I'm my sister's keeper, I'm my person's keeper. It's been over a year now, and there have been 0 shootings between both sets. They have both upheld the peace treaty, and it really showed me the power of community. And a lot of times people act like that work doesn't exist, and it's there.
The power to create change, the power to sustain change comes from within the community.
What really keeps me going is love. That's the first thing for sure, because without love, I would not be able to fully invest in what I do on a day-to-day basis, especially working in our community. So everything that I do is driven by love. And interacting with young people like you and organizers from all around the country and the world is really inspiring. Also, just my lived experience as a young Black woman growing up below the poverty line and being literally first generation everything, like I'm able to empathize with the issues that our communities face, and I just want to be a part of that change, which is why I do the work I do.
My favorite thing to do to stay motivated is to look to idols and icons who have done it really well. What I've learned from them is that there's no way to do this work and be completely happy every second of the work. So I stay encouraged by looking at those people and understanding that although it is really hard, although I am sad, although it is lonely, although it is hard to do this work, there are young people 100 years from now who will appreciate it.